Hello everyone, my name is CM Freeze, and today, as you can see by the title, I'm going to be doing a video discussing is Dak Prescott overrated or underrated? Now, since Dak Prescott is the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, he is going to be talked about a lot. A lot of people are going to hate on him for no reason because he's a Dallas Cowboy, and a lot of people are going to absolutely adore him because he is a Dallas Cowboy. Cowboys, I think, have the biggest fan base of any single NFL team. So naturally, just a lot of people that love him. Over the last couple of years, probably ever since Prescott's rookie season, he has been a hot topic. People have always wondered exactly how good is Dak Prescott? Is he top 10? Can he ever lead the Dallas Cowboys to a Super Bowl? This year is very interesting because Dak Prescott's in the last year of his contract, and it's rumored that he wants $60 million a year. Currently, the highest contract in the NFL is $55 million a year, which is going to both Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence. Now, Prescott is not as good as Joe Burrow, but I believe he is better than Trevor Lawrence. So it's very interesting how that's going to play out. This isn't going to be a video on what the Dallas Cowboys should do. You know what? I think either way, it's kind of a lose-lose situation for them. Either they have to pay Dak Prescott $60 million, and that's just $60 million against their cap that they don't have, or the Dallas Cowboys have to trade him. And then who do you got at quarterback? Right? Trey Lance? You know what? Maybe if you get a good supporting cast around him, good pick, draft Carson Beck, who knows? But it's kind of a lose-lose for Dallas. You either lose your starting quarterback or you take a $60 million cap hit. But so much has been going over Dak Prescott. Should he get this money? Is he a good quarterback? Is he a bad quarterback? And today, I'm going to give both the pros and the cons of Dak Prescott. And at the end, I'm going to give my opinion. At first, in the first half of this video, I just want this to be strictly looking at his stats, looking at the hard numbers, no opinions. And then at the end, I'll give my opinion. First thing is, you do have to look at Dak Prescott's stats. Yes, football is more than just stats. Garbage time stats are a thing. But in order to determine, is Dak Prescott overrated or underrated, where should he be rated, you do have to look at his stats. Dak Prescott will be going into his 9th season, and he'll be turning 31, and he has played in 8 seasons. One of those seasons was the season that he snapped his leg, so he only played in 5 games, basically 4 because it happened in the middle of the game. So I'm not even going to consider that a season for him. If you want to count those 4 games, be my guest. But realistically, Dak Prescott only has 7 seasons. He was fully healthy in 6 of those 7 seasons in his 2022 campaign. He hurt his arm, I think. It was either his arm or his leg, and it sidelined him for 5 games, where Cooper Rush came in. I think Cooper Rush went 4-1. Remember, Cooper Rush went 4-0, and everyone's like, we don't need Prescott. And then he got absolutely creamed by the Eagles, and we're like, oh, okay, we were just playing bad teams. But so let's look at Dak Prescott here. Let's look at his stats. Dak Prescott has never had a losing season in his 7 seasons where he's been fully healthy. He had an even season in 2019. And in Dak Prescott's 7 seasons where he's been fully healthy and played in almost every single season, he's made the playoffs 5 of those 7 seasons. The only seasons he does not was his 2017 and his 2019 seasons. So he's made the playoffs 5 out of the 7 seasons that he's been fully starting. That is a pretty good record. If you look at Dak Prescott's stats, they are definitely above average stats, and there's no way around it. He's had 3 years now where he's been over 4,000 yards passing, and in some of his earlier seasons, when there was only 16 games, he almost got to 4,000 yards. His rookie season was arguably one of his best seasons. Yes, the touchdowns and the yards weren't there, but it's when he was the most efficient. He had the least amount of interceptions. He only had 4 interceptions, which is crazy because after that, it's been so much higher every single season since. Prescott always has high yards, typically has good touchdowns. He's definitely had a lot more passing touchdowns in his later seasons, but could that be because he hasn't had Ezekiel Elliott? Remember, Ezekiel Elliott in his prime was getting a lot of carries, a lot of touchdowns in the red zone, where now Dak Prescott might have to throw the ball more. Was his 2023 campaign his best season? It was either his 2021 or 2023 campaign. You also got to remember his 2022 campaign. He missed 5 games, but he missed 5 games and had 15 touchdowns. He was not on it in 2022. But 2021 and 2023 Dak Prescott were what I believe his two best seasons. So Prescott has been getting better over time. He had his really good rookie season, and then a couple of seasons where he was on pace with his rookie season in 2017, 2018, 2019, and obviously 2020 got hurt, but then he came back from his injury, and in 2021 and 2023 has played great. So looking at all of his seasons here, I would say his 2016, his 2021, and his 2023 season were great. He was a rookie his first year, so I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack. That was his best year in terms of winning. He had also a ton of fourth quarter comebacks. Fourth quarter comebacks is a stat here. He had 5 of them. He has had 8 in every single season that wasn't his rookie season. So he was getting a lot of fourth quarter comebacks. He was winning close games for the Cowboys. So 2016, 2021, 2023, Dak Prescott was great. Then I would say in 2018, 2019, he was good. And then 2020, he was hurt. And then 2017 and 2020 were definitely his 2 worst years. He was still average, wasn't the best, but average. So you got 2 average seasons, 2 good seasons, and 3 great seasons. So right off the bat, just looking statistically, Dak Prescott is definitely a good quarterback. Some other important stats I think it's important to look at is his quarterback rating or his rating and his QBR. His QBR, again, has been really good in a lot of seasons. Again, his 2022 campaign was kind of weird, but again, he was hurt and then probably playing injured. And his quarterback rating has typically always been good, except his 2017 season. Now, stats are kind of hard to judge because garbage time is a thing. So now it's important, I think, to look at the win-loss of Dak Prescott, which is 23 and 41. Everyone says that wins is a quarterback stat. Who knows if that's true or not, but Dak Prescott does have a winning record, and by a substantial bit too. He could lose every single game in his 2024 campaign, go 0-18 or 0-17, and still have a winning record. Now that I've gone over Dak Prescott's individual stats, I think it's important to look at the team around him, because you could still have an average quarterback, a quote-unquote game manager, who in the right situation can lead your team to a Super Bowl. I look at the 49ers and the Rams in the recent years as example. For example, the 49ers have been to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo, 2 quarterbacks that aren't great, but aren't bad quarterbacks, and in the right system do what they need to do to get their team the Super Bowl. Again, with the Rams, with both Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff. Matthew Stafford's definitely the best quarterback out of all 4 that I've named, and he was definitely really good, but that Rams defense was also great, and Matthew Stafford had great targets and great coaching. Same exact thing with Jared Goff. Great defense along with some great coaching and great offensive weapons. So a not the best quarterback in the world, and again, this is Rams Jared Goff, not current Jared Goff. This is Rams Jared Goff when he wasn't that good. A good quarterback could just be in a really good system for him where he absolutely just balls out, has a great defense, great supporting cast. So is that the same for Dak Prescott? Is Dak Prescott just winning a lot of games because of his supporting cast? Well, Dak Prescott has always had a good offense. Dallas Cowboys have always prioritized the offensive line. I remember when Dak Prescott first started playing, when the Dallas Cowboys had Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, I think the really good center. Frederick, I know was his last name. I think it was Travis Frederick. And then Tyrone Smith at left tackle. The Dallas Cowboys had 3 all-pro offensive linemen. Absolutely phenomenal offensive linemen. That offensive line, 2016, 2017, 2018, one of the best offensive lines ever. When you have 3 all-pros on your offensive line is absolutely jacked. Dak Prescott was getting all the time in the world. He had a great offensive line. And he also had a great run game in prime Ezekiel Elliott. 2016, when Dak Prescott won Offensive Rookie of the Year, it was either going to be him or Elliott. That was insane how 2 rookies came in and absolutely dominated the league. And Elliott was really good for the Cowboys for a really long time. And even towards the end of his career, when Elliott fell off, Tony Pollard stepped up. Now, to counteract the Cowboys always having a good run game, I would say arguably one of Dak Prescott's best years in 2023 was the year that the Cowboys had the worst running game as well, and Dak Prescott was really forced to pass, and he actually shined when he passed. Speaking of passing, Dak Prescott's always had really good wide receivers as well. You look at CeeDee Lamb, you look at Amari Cooper, and you look at Des Bryant. 3 all-pro wide receivers with wide receiver 1 talent. Dak Prescott's also had some good wide receiver twos around him as well. I can think of even last year, Brandon Cooks was a pretty good wide receiver for him. Michael Gallup, back when he was a rookie, was pretty good alongside of Amari Cooper. They also had Tavon Austin for 1 year. And of course, you can't forget when they had Jason Witten at tight end and what he was able to do with Dak Prescott as well. So Prescott definitely has had weapons and he's had a good offensive line. That's not necessarily a knock on Prescott. In order to have a really good wide receiver, you need to have a good quarterback throwing you the ball as well. Without Prescott, Prescott is able to bring out the best in guys like Lamb and Amari Cooper and Dez Bryant and Jason Witten. Prescott is able to use them to their fullest, which I would say is a sign of a great quarterback. Some quarterbacks I think about that is another quarterback that comes to mind is my GOAT, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan always had good talent around him and was able to use them to the fullest. Julio Jones, Roddy White, Tony Gonzalez. Matt Ryan has always had elite weapons, but he got the maximum potential out of his elite weapons. Look at Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. Look at Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. The best wide receivers in the NFL have an elite quarterback that is able to maximize their potential. And I'd look at Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb right now. CeeDee Lamb is a top 5 wide receiver in the league, and part of it is because Dak Prescott is able to help him out so much. But, I'm just saying Prescott has always had a good offense as well. Defensively, has Dak Prescott had a good defense? Something that I would like to point out is the points that his defense has allowed. I always hate when teams judge a defense based on defensive total yards. I couldn't give a crap how many yards the defense is allowing. Another example, Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons defense last year, I believe, allowed the 11th lowest amount of yards, but was 19th in points. Basically, it was just saying, yeah, we weren't allowing a lot of yards because teams were just scoring. They were going down the field and scoring. Or yards could also be that you're just playing in close games with long drives. It could be a 20-17 game. The yards could be super low because it's a slow-paced game. What I really like to look at is the points that the defense is allowing. Like I said, could not care how many yards you're allowing if you aren't allowing any points at all. And in Dak Prescott's 8 seasons, we're not going to count 2022, the defense was atrocious that year as well, but in his 7 years starting, Dak Prescott's defense was top 10 in points in 5 of those 7 years. And remember how I said Dak Prescott has made the playoffs in 5 out of his 7 years, and the 2 years he didn't make it was 2017 and 2019? Ironically, that was the 2 years he's had his worst defense in terms of points, his defense allowing the 13th least points and 11th least points. Regardless, in all 7 of Dak Prescott's starting years, he's had a above average defense. And in 5 of those 7 years, he has had a top 5 defense, and in 3 of those 7 years, he's had a top 5 defense. Again, you could say in 5 of his 7 years, in the 5 years that Dak Prescott has made the playoffs, the worst his defense has been is 7th in points. You see here 5, 5, 7, 6, and 5. So in every single year that Prescott has made it to the playoffs, had a top 7 defense or better in terms of total points allowed. Now, I decided to take this one step further. I decided to look at every single game since 2016 to determine how Dak Prescott does when his defense doesn't do good. Because just because his defense does good doesn't mean that Dak Prescott doesn't do good. So I tried finding what the league average in terms of points allowed was. It varies from season to season, but basically it's in between about 22 and 25 points per game is the league average of points allowed. I think it said that 48.6 points was this season's average points per game. So what I decided to do is I went from 2016 to 2024, and in every single game that Dak Prescott started, I looked at how did he do when his defense allowed 24 points or more, which was again about the league average. Like I said, if 48 points was the league average, that's a 24 to 24 game. Now, obviously, that's not how it is, but 24 is the best number as well. Like 22, no one's scoring 22 points a game, maybe 23, 25, but 24 points was just when his defense allows 3 touchdowns and a field goal. How does Dak Prescott do when he needs to score more than 24 points in a game? Well, as you can see here, Dak Prescott has played in 37 games where his defense has allowed 24 or more points. In those 37 games, he's gone 11 and 26. 11 and 26. So when his defense allows more than the league average, when his defense is allowing 24 or more points, Dak Prescott is losing more than 50% of the time. Even more than that, which isn't good. So quickly doing a little comparison here, Dak Prescott has won 73 games. And only 11 of those games did his defense allow more than the league average. That means in 62 out of his 73 wins, his defense allowed less than the league average of points. Some quick math shows you that 85% of Dak Prescott's wins, his defense allows less than the league average in points allowed. Now, there's a lot of factors that can go into this. He could just be playing bad teams. Dak Prescott also puts up a lot of points as well. That's not saying that he's winning these 20 to 14 games. Obviously, some he is, but there are a lot of games where Dak Prescott's putting up a lot of points as well. But in the games where he's challenged, in the games where he needs to put up more than the league average points of 24, he is 11 and 26. That's not good. That is not good when his defense that isn't a top 7 in points actually starts allowing points and Dak Prescott needs to get these wins. He's not. So it's not entirely unfair to criticize Dak Prescott or at least be like, hey, where are you when we need you, man? Another thing that I really don't like about Dak Prescott, I've purposely not mentioned him in the playoffs because, like I said, Dak Prescott has made the playoffs 5 out of his 7 years. And in those 5 years, he is 2-5 in the playoffs. 2 playoff wins in 7 seasons. With a top 10 defense. That is rough. That is hard. In some of these games, Dak Prescott's looked terrible. Specifically, the 2 times he's played the 49ers. He's looked absolutely terrible. Now, Prescott has had some good games. In the 2 games they won against the Seahawks and against Tampa Bay, Dak Prescott looked really good. In the other 5 games, not so much. Not so much. And it really is a criticism that I have of Prescott. And that is arguably my biggest criticism of Prescott. Because you have these really good defenses. You have these really good talents. Why do you constantly get blown out in the playoffs? Why haven't you won more playoff games? What happened last year against the Packers? Truly, what happened last year against the Packers? Why, whenever you play the 49ers, can you not score any single points? Like, the 49ers just own you and just have your number? I just don't get it. I wish Dak Prescott had more playoff wins because it is really hard to argue him with these playoff stats. Now that I've gone over Dak Prescott's pros and his cons, what do I think of Dak Prescott? Well, right as the NFL season ended, I actually made a quarterback tier list video. And in that video, I put Dak Prescott as number 6. And when I'm looking at this list, I think that you could convince me that Hurts, Cousin, Goff, Stafford, and Stroud are better than Dak Prescott. Which, if you put all 5 of these guys above Dak Prescott, that puts Prescott at 11. So I think at Prescott's best, he's 6, and at Prescott's worst, he's 11. I think the top 5 quarterbacks are obviously Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, Herbert, and Allen. There's no debating that they are the top 5. Dak Prescott is definitely in the great tier of quarterback. His stats prove it. Yes, he's had a great defense. Yes, he's had a great supporting cast, but he's able to make the most out of it. He hasn't had a losing season. He hasn't. Dak Prescott, in games where his defense plays great, he capitalizes on him. Dak Prescott does everything you need to do. Yes, his biggest flaw is when his defense does allow points, he doesn't really get the job done. Like I said, 11 and 26 when his defense allows more than the league average in points. However, that means that he's doing phenomenal. 62 wins when his defense is helping him. Dak Prescott is also able to put up big numbers. He's able to utilize his weapons to the fullest. There's a lot of pros with Dak Prescott, and I think that a lot of teams would be happy to have him. I definitely think he's better than Brock Purdy in the 49ers. I think Prescott could win the 49ers a ring if he's on that team. Now, like I said, Prescott is in between 6 and 11. The reason, and some of these guys could honestly be better than Prescott in the future. Jordan Love and CJ Stroud, the reason that they're so low is because we've only seen them for 1 year. Dak Prescott has had 7 good years consistently. 7 good years consistently. If Stroud and Love have 2 more great years. Herbert's been in the league for 4 years and has had 4 great years. Same with Burrow. Burrow's had 3 great years. So if Stroud and Love can have 2 more good seasons, great seasons like they did their rookie seasons, and take steps up, they could be above Prescott. So Prescott could honestly drop down to 13 if you really could convince me. I think Cousins is probably going to drop down to. Quarterback rankings are so hard because it's also team-based as well. But that is my opinion of where would I rank Prescott. I would rank him in between 6 and 11. So he's a top 10 quarterback in the league for me. At worst, 11th. Absolutely at worst, 11th. But he's 6 to 11. You can convince me either or. Definitely not top 5. So if you're someone that's saying Dak Prescott's a top 5 quarterback in the league and he's worth $60 million, hell no. But if you're someone that hates Dak Prescott and says that he's a bottom 10 quarterback in the league, I would strongly disagree with that, unless you say he's number 11, because that's the lowest I would absolutely put him. But I still think he's definitely probably better than Goff and Stafford and Stroud. At this point in Stroud's career, Stroud could be better, and he's definitely better than Cousins. Hurts, I think, is the only one that probably should be above him. We'll have to see. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to go see my full quarterback tier list video, you should watch it. It's a great video if you want to see why I put everyone where I put them. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with my analysis of Dak Prescott. This is just a fun little video that I wanted to do because I've been seeing a lot of talk about Dak Prescott lately on social media. Thank you guys so much for watching very much, and peace out.